So, welcome to session 2 of the virtual town meeting for the town of Plymouth for 2021. At the January 25th, 2021 workshop session, the town moderator and the select board determined that the meeting locations for the town meeting normally held in March would be unsafe due to COVID. Therefore, per New Hampshire RSA 40:20, the decision was made to hold meetings virtually as outlined in House Bill 1129. To quote the head of the CDC, Center for Disease Control, now is not the time to relax critical safeguards that we know can be, that we know can stop spread of COVID-19 in our communities. Not when we're so close. We have the ability to stop a potential fourth surge of cases in this community. House Bill 1129 requires that 2 virtual meetings be held. The first of the 2 meetings was held to present the proposed budget and warrant articles. Opinions and concerns over the warrant articles would be accepted by email, mail, or phone. Names and addresses and phone numbers must be included in all correspondence. The input received by the deadline was presented in the second, will be presented in the second virtual meeting for discussion and debate by the governing body. Input from the public may be accepted at this time. Articles will then be put in their final form based on information received from the public and discussion held by the select board. The final warrant articles will be made available electronically on Friday, March 26, 2021 on the Town of Plymouth's website as follows: www.plymouth-newhampshire.org and www.townclerk.plymouth-newhampshire.com. Ballot voting on warrant articles 2 through 19 will take place on Saturday, April 17th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Plymouth Elementary School gymnasiums. Masks are required and social distancing as well. Should you not want to wear a mask or are uncomfortable entering the building, there will be a parking space provided out front with one of the supervisors or a ballot clerk assigned. Will bring your ballot out so that you can vote. They will bring it back inside and place it in the ballot box. The first question, Article 2, will be to ask voters if they accept this optional town meeting procedure. It is important to vote yes on this article, as if this article is defeated, the rest of the articles will fail as well. The proposed 21-22 fiscal year budget is only up 4.9% over fiscal year 2021, excluding the $2,500,000 bond. So, the first article is to elect town officers which appear on the official town ballot for the ensuing year. This will be voted on March 9th. Regular voting hours from 8 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night at the Plymouth Elementary School. There's 1 selectman, 3-year term, John Ranlett, Ted Wozniewski, and Carolyn Dowling. Supervisor of the checklist, 1 person, a 6-year term, Susan Jane Clay, who's running unopposed. 1 cemetery trustee for 3-year term, no one signed up. There'll be a write-in haven. 2 library trustees, each a 3-year term, Winnie Holt and Charlene Whitman are running unopposed. 1 library trustee, 1-year term, Bridget Powers running unopposed, and 1 moderator, 2-year term, Robert Clay running unopposed. And so the April 17th ballot will be, and I will start with Article 2. I will read it. Selectmen will have a chance to respond, and then we'll answer questions on that. And I will open it up to people who are online who wish to comment or have questions. Article 2 is to see if the town will vote to approve these optional town meeting procedures with the understanding that on the date of April 17th, 2021 business session of the town meeting voting on the remaining warrant articles, beginning with Article 2, shall be by ballot voting, and there will be no discussion or amendments to any of the warrant articles at this session of the town meeting. Just so that everybody knows, it will be a written ballot. there will be Article 2 and Article all the way through Article 18, 19 is any other business to come before this meeting, so you won't have to vote on that. But it will be simply, here's the article, do you vote yes or no? It's really straightforward and pretty clear. Okay, so Select Board, your comments.
This has kind of already been made, but a quote from the head of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. She stated that now is not the time to relax the critical safeguards that we know can stop the spread of COVID-19 in our communities, not when we are so close. We have the ability to stop a potential fourth surge of cases in this country. This optional town meeting article is being presented as a requirement under the new House Bill 1129, which allows this procedure of voting to be utilized under the state of emergency COVID-19 regulations. Further, the law allows the selectmen to proceed with approval of the following warrant articles by ballot vote. In order for the remainder of the warrant articles to be considered, the board recommends voters to vote in the affirmative on this warrant article. If the warrant article fails, warrant articles 3 through 19 will also fail, and the town's budget for the 2021 to 2022 year will default back to the 2020 to 2021 budget with required adjustments according to New Hampshire state statutes. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, and we do have a question. Why did you choose a forum which totally excludes the public from discussing any questions and or issues in the warrant entirely composed, with the exception of Article 4 put forth by the selectmen? And that was question was posed by Patrice Scott.
There is another question right before that as well.
Sorry, I missed that.
It's okay.
What input from the public did the selectmen seek before deciding to desecrate the manner in which Plymouth citizens have been convening since 1763, also opposed by Patrice Scott?
Okay, I guess in answer to that, we could quote the caveat that the director of the Centers for Disease Control made regarding now is the time to maintain protections. And at the January 25th, 2021 work session, the town moderator and select board determined that the meeting location for a town meeting normally held in March would be unsafe due to COVID. Therefore, per New Hampshire State Statute 40 or RSA 40:4, the decision was made to hold the meeting virtually as outlined in House Bill 1129. Prior to this decision, the board held multiple meetings with election officials, legal counsel, the health officer, the EMS director, and the state of New Hampshire state officials to ensure all precautions were taken.
And it's right out of the law. It says the first one is to open up the information so everybody knows, and the second meeting is for discussion. And we're following the law as it was prescribed by the New Hampshire legislature. So the second question is, why did you choose a forum which totally excluded? I think we answered that in the first question. From discussion, any questions or issues raised. Today is the day to be able to do that. I think we've answered that. If there any further explanation needed, let me know.
I think that's good enough.
Yeah, we answered both of them. Down Q&A, there's a one. When
just are we allowing the public to speak?
Yes.
If they are, then they should just for procedural purposes, they should click the raise hand button.
Yes.
Below, and at that time the moderator will recognize you.
Right. I can't tell if you have a question unless you raise your hand. And down at the bottom of the screen, let's see, where is that? On
First question is, when may the forum discuss this? And the second question is, how do I get recognized? Both from Ward Scott.
right. So how do you raise the hand on this? It's been so long since I've been on Zoom.
Right at the bottom, you'll see there's
At the bottom, if you click on the participants, and at the bottom of participants, it says raise your hand. You raise your hand, I will see that you have a question and I will allow you to speak. There we go. You're on.
Bob?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, it's Patrice Scott. I don't know why it has Ward Scott on my thing, but I appreciate the fact that we can be recognized. It took a while. I was trying to ask a question the last time I raised my hand, and we were told we weren't allowed to participate. So
That was the previous meeting, which was strictly to lay out what was being brought forward as prescribed by law. This meeting, everybody is allowed to comment.
right, well, that's great, but that wasn't also clear from what's on the website, and the reading of House Bill 1129 actually state, and then all of the guidelines from the New Hampshire Municipal Association, which I've also reviewed, state that the first meeting is the one where people should actually have a thorough discussion. And that's why I was very vehement when I tried to attend the last session that there was no public participation. I was very concerned about that, and questioned the legitimacy of this format basically for our town meeting. But before, I'd also like to ask how many viewers, can you tell how many viewers you have online right now and how many viewers attended the last session?
I can tell you by looking at the screen that I have 9 viewers right now, and we had 15 at the last one.
Okay, 9 viewers and 15. Okay, so that's, at a normal town meeting, what I would do in that event is raise a point of no quorum and just ask, in the past, for the last 5 years, which I have researched the various town reports and official minutes and recording, and then looked at my own hand count votes, that the average attendance at our last town meeting was only 100, or about 100. And I feel that we could definitely accommodate 100 people and have some kind of method of inviting people to register for town meeting this year if they wanted, but rather than simply cancel the whole in-person debate. The lack of public participation in this format really concerns me. We have lots of older people in our town who cannot use or do not have access to a computer. So those people are completely screened out. And then of course you have lots of people who are traveling. I think there's an advantage to a Zoom meeting for people to actually observe, which we also have available on 1301, but the actual participation in offering, really questioning each warrant article that we'll be voting on, it's really not possible in this format. I also understand from reading all the legal guidelines by different groups offered that it would be hard to verify, let's say in a bigger town where you have more than 15 people viewing at home. It would be hard to verify if they're all registered voters and who's actually participating. Because as you see right on the screen, it says my husband's name, not my name, as who wanted to speak. But I also did some looking around and checking our other towns. If this is such an emergency, which this is the first I'm hearing, the reason we canceled it was because we've decided this is such an emergency, continuing emergency that of COVID in our town. But the towns of Ashland, Bristol, Campden, Exeter, Hebron, Holderness, Hollis, Littleton, Thornton, Warren, Wentworth, and down, I checked Wyndham for down south, but all of these towns are going ahead with in-person either deliberative sessions or town meetings and voting. And if we have such a contagion problem, I don't understand why it's okay to have hundreds of people come through our polling place in March, but just not have less than 100 people attend a town meeting. I really feel that the decision was made without public input, and it's our town meeting. The people of Plymouth have a right and have been meeting this way since 1763. To cancel such a great tradition is just unacceptable in my view. So I would urge everybody listening and everybody who tunes in later on Channel 3, I would vote no on Article 2. I think in that event under House Bill 1129, the selectmen have the option of doing two things. One is treated as a default budget as the SB2 towns do and operate according to the last year's operating budget minus proposed warrant articles. And the second way is to have a meeting, and the legislation they've all said you can have a meeting before September. That was the purpose of this enabling legislation, was to give towns options to postpone their town meeting to a later date if they felt, they could have an open air forum or meet in a safer way. But with social distancing and mask wearing for less than the usual 100 people that show up at town meeting, I really feel that there was not a good reason to cancel it, and hope that the people will speak in April and vote no on Article 2.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's move on to Article 3. Article 3.
Looks like there's another hand
Oh,
raised.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let Henry answer. Let Henry speak. Allow. Okay, Henry, you're on.
Okay, I just, I want to agree with Patrice. If we only have 9 people at this meeting asking questions, and I would also like to ask how many people actually responded and submitted comments after the first meeting. 9 people is not enough to hold a town meeting. And we can hold it all the way through till September. So by that time, with the number of vaccines that are coming into the state at the present time, there's no reason we could not hold this in August timeframe to hold an actual town meeting. So I would also vote no on Article 2, and with the suggestion that we do hold an official town meeting. Thank you.
Colin, you're on.
Hello?
Colin, you're on.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is there a question for me?
You had your hand up.
Oh,
So-
I think I inadvertently bumped the button, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Right.
Okay, Article 3. To see if the town vote recognize the Plymouth as a destination for environmental studies or ecotourism, which would formalize a similar recognition that was passed by the Select Board on April 4th, 2017. By recognizing Plymouth as a destination for environmental studies and ecotourism, the town of Plymouth is sending a message that our town is a place to enjoy nature and learn about our environment. Furthermore, this action will put Plymouth on the map in a stronger position to organize and develop planning for our future economic and educational endeavors and create funding opportunities and future projects. And the Selectmen recommended passage of this article. Before I go any further, I do want to I want to back up a little bit to comment from Marcia Blaine. Marcia had said that the Plymouth Board of Selectmen met many times, thank you for your willingness to adopt this unique solution for the pandemic challenges. I found it very helpful. Bill's explanation of why each warrant article was written as it appears was really excellent. I hope you'll have an opportunity to answer the following questions. I am a former member of the Advisory Budget Committee and do not see and did not hear any mention of the Advisory Budget Committee. I know they worked long and hard on a truly useful report to the Select Board, finding examples of places where possible efficiencies might be found, or places where repeated budget requests seem to have become fixed in stone. Will you please address the questions and points they raised on how the board decided on these issues? For example, there appears to be a yearly request of a 3% salary increase by town employees. Why and why now? And so there are many other points the Advisory Budget Committee made that need to be addressed publicly. And
Mr. Moderator,
yes,
it seems like this is more in response to Article 6.
I wanted to put it up front on all articles that involve money.
Okay.
because normally we would say, how does the budget committee feel about each of these articles that involve money? And so I wanted it up front, so this is why I'm doing it here, but thank you. So who is going to respond? I have the letter with the response if you don't.
So who you? Ted,
Ted.
Ted Wisniewski is.
Ted Winooski has his hand up.
Oh, okay. I didn't see. I'm looking at papers and screens and go ahead, Ted, you're on. Oh, you have to unmute. There you go. You're on, Ted.
So the Budget Committee prepared a statement to talk about our work in a very general form. So I will read that here. The Advisory Budget Committee reviewed the budgets with the individual departments and made recommendations to the Select Board and Town Administration. It is our understanding that at least a couple of the recommendations were adopted. We found that the budget was prepared in good faith, in a good faith effort to represent the needs of the town.
Okay, thank you. Who responded to Marcia? Because I have the written response that was given.
We were going to read the responses here today, and then we can forward this back to Marcia.
Okay, do you want to read them now, or do you want to when the articles come up? Because it's it addresses many things. I would rather put it all out on the table now, and then if
Right.
there are further up questions as we get to the rest of it. Thank you, Marcia, for your questions. The Town Board of Selectmen met many times with the members of the Advisory Budget Committee, and although they made several suggestions related to the budget and how they would address possible efficiencies throughout the budget, the few items that were specifically addressed by the board include 3% increase. After considering the concerns of the 3% overall increase for all employees, the board decided that non-contractual and non-union positions would receive 1.5% increase. The select board in the past have typically negotiated with the union for an increase in the pay of the employees and would utilize that amount for non-union employees as well. The town is in the middle of a pay and classification study for all positions and agreed holding off the 3% for all was appropriate for this year's budget. Moving the police parking administrative assistant was suggested by the Advisory Budget Committee that for the majority of the time the individual works for the police department and not the parking department. Therefore, this position was moved to the regular police budget. Recycling. As suggested by the Advisory Budget Committee, the board agreed that another full-time position was not justified at this time. The Board of Selectmen removed the expense associated with a full-time position and replaced it with a part-time position, which has been the past practice within the department's budget. Budget request, the Advisory Budget Committee made it clear that the board and departments that they would like to see better explanation and more consistent requests received from the departments for their annual budget requests. The board will be working with the town manager and finance director to revamp the process of budgeting and will be looking back over the past few years to ensure that the financial amount requested for each line item will be adequately substantiated. The Advisory Budget Committee presented many well thought out recommendations for future budgeting and the process for the town. The town manager, selectman's representative to the Budget Committee, and the finance director will be working with department heads in the future to assist them in understanding how the expenses and revenues coincide as it relates to the overall budgeting process for the town. At the present time, each department receives a copy of the town's revenues and expenses on a monthly basis and are encouraged to contact the finance office directly with any questions they may have. And I think I have too many letters in front of me here. I think that's it.
That is.
Okay. All right. So back to Article 3 and explanation by the selectmen.
Okay, so I think I read this, but regardless, this article is presented to the select board in connection with a resolution that was passed by the board in April of 2017. Select board member Neil McIver presented both this article and the resolution to the board. And There was a question, what are the potential costs to Plymouth taxpayers if we so designate ourselves? And there would be no potential cost to the Plymouth taxpayers to just designate ourselves environmental studies and ecotourism. So, and another consideration is what land restrictions may unwitting property owners assume under such a designation. And this would have no effect on both the zoning and land use. It was just a designation. Does our town planner approve? As stated, this warrant article was presented by Select Board member Neil McIver, and the planner's comments are: this designation is consistent with goals in the master plan, such as market the valuable and diverse assets Plymouth has to offer to future entrepreneurs, businesses, and young families, including attractive, vibrant, walkable downtown, 2 major rivers, wide variety of local and regional recreational opportunities, and easy access to the White Mountain National Forest and the Lakes region. In addition, the state of New Hampshire's Department of Business and Economic Affairs recently created the Office of Outdoor Recreation Industry Development, ORID, to support New Hampshire's diverse outdoor economy and connect our state's world-class outdoor assets to broad economic development strategies, such as workforce and business recruitment. Our ecotourism designation will potentially help us in working with this new office. And what funding opportunities are anticipated? The town hopes that in the future, this designation will allow them to apply for grant opportunities, which will be essential for development. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Article 3? None being seen, I'll move on to Article 4. Article 4 is to see if the town will vote to reclassify Martin Estate Road from a private association road to a town-owned road from the intersection of Bridgewater Hill Road to the cul-de-sac ending Martin Estates Road. This was inserted by petition, and there will be a majority vote required. And we did have a question on that. How much will reclassifying Martin Estates Road cost the taxpayers?
And the answer is the initial cost of reclassifying Martin Estates Road will be the responsibility of the owner of the property, as they will need to bring the road up to town roadway specifications prior to the select board's approval. Once the roadway is accepted by the select board, the future costs associated with this roadway will be paid from the highway department's annual budget for plowing and future road maintenance.
Any other questions, follow-up questions? Okay, I'll move on to Article 5. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $25,000 for costs associated with the conservation, land acquisition, and protection, including but not limited to establishing an easement on lands associated with the Pemmy Oxbow Recreation Area, and to offset this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of $25,000 from the Conservation Commission Capital Projects Capital Reserve, which the fund was established for that purpose. And the select board recommended this article.
I read this at the last.
Right, but the amendment is.
So therefore, at the 2008 town meeting, approval has been given to establish the Conservation Commission under the provision of RSA 36-A. Due to this authority, following the second virtual meeting of March 6th, it will be recommended that the board amend the wording of this warrant article to read, to see if the town will vote to adopt the provisions of RSA 36A:4-A, Roman numeral 2A, to authorize the Conservation Commission to expend funds to purchase interests in land outside the boundaries of our municipality, and further to authorize the Plymouth Conservation Commission to spend up to $25,000 from the Capital Reserve Fund to be used for land acquisition and establishing a conservation easement on those lands in collaboration with the Holderness Conservation Commission and other qualified organizations, And further, to offset this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of $25,000 from the Conservation Commission Capital Projects Capital Reserve Fund established for this purpose.
Okay, we will also revisit that at the end of the meeting with any other amendments that may be, but we'll address that again at that time. Any other questions on Article 5?
Yep, one hand up.
Yep. All right, Patrice, you're on. You have to unmute.
Okay, Mr. Moderator, I'm just wondering, how does it work to amend the warrant when it's already been published in the annual report and online and everything? How are amendments even offered in this process?
The amendments were in the process, as far as I understand, from the discussion from the first meeting, anything you wanted to bring forward.
Oh, okay, I'm just wondering how they get published. Well, if the selectmen vote to amend any articles, it will appear in the published warrant that we actually vote on?
Valid.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so it may vary from what was published in the annual report.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? Article 6, to see if acceptance of operational budgets, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $4,463,929 for fiscal year 21-22 general government and departmental expenses as follows. Salaries, fees, and expenses, Selectman's Office, $403,195. Election, registration, vital statistics, Town Clerk's Office, $157,650. Financial administration, $345,964. Reappraisal of property, $75,000. Contract services, legal and other, $185,488. Personnel administration, $1,500. Planning and zoning, $210,106. Land use enforcement, $31,595. General government buildings, $47,400. Cemeteries, $60,967. Miscellaneous insurance, workman's comp, liability, and unemployment, $197,291. Advertising and regional association, $6,332. Emergency management, $40,449. Parks and Recreation, $790,187. Library, $517,198. Care of trees, $7,000. Patriotic purposes, $4,700. Other culture and recreation, $12,100. Humane Society, $6,500. Health enforcement, $10,000. Airport, $7,550. Welfare officer, $27,551. Welfare vendor payments, $70,000. Recycling solid waste disposal, $486,843. Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District dues, $4,031. Infrastructure bond payment 6 approved at the 2016 town meeting, $232,144. Infrastructure bond payment number 1 approved at the 2020 town meeting, $300,000. Library expansion project bond payment number 11, $136,971. Conservation Commission, $2,050. Health agencies, $23,070. Intergovernmental welfare agencies, $63,097. And the selectmen recommend passage of that article. And so, selectmen, you wish to explain? The reason I'm asking you to explain, selectmen, is that we have some different people on the screen this time than were at the last meeting, so.
All right, so this warrant article includes a multitude of the town departments and agencies this year, which have previously been separate warrant articles by department. Non-union and non-contractual employees in these departments are budgeted to receive a 1.5% cost of living adjustment. The board at the recommendation of the nonprofit budget committee reviewed each request included in the final 2 appropriations. health agencies and intergovernmental welfare agencies on this article. These requests are detailed by agency in the budget, and the board has kept them level funded over several years. For this year's funding, and after considering the percentage of increases in the Plymouth area, adjustments were made to encompass an actual cost of living adjustment for the individual agencies. This article also presents the payments for the bonded indebtedness of the town associated with the Pease Public Library expansion and infrastructure bonds of 2016 and 2020. And we did have a question.
Okay. And this is Article 6. Article 6. And it says, what percentage increase does the recited $4,463,929 represent in general governmental and departmental expenses over last year?
And the overall increase from this warrant article over the prior year's budget is 2.59%.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. We'll move on to Article 7 to see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Select Board and the AFSME Council 93, which calls for the following estimated increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. This is for police and fire employees. Fiscal year 2021, the estimated increase for police is $22,387. For fire is $32,927 for a total of $55,314. And further, to raise and appropriate a sum of $55,314 for the 2021-22 fiscal year. Such sum representing the additional cost attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over that of the appropriation of the current staffing levels paid in the prior fiscal year. And I'll let you respond and then I'll do the question.
Okay. The Board of Selectmen recommend this article.
Yep.
And this warrant article extends the current contract that the New Hampshire, the town of Plymouth has with AFSCME, Council 93 union employees, for 1 year. This includes several employees of the fire and police departments. The costs associated with this article represent a 3% cost of living for police personnel and an additional increase for fire department personnel to appropriately bring the wages of those employees up to a more standardized wage base. The Select Board requested this 1 year extension to allow for the completion of a wage and classification study. And this study will be utilized more extensively in the future for all town salaries.
All right, and there is a question. Please clarify the percent increases in the collective bargaining agreement for fire and police. Bill's discussion of the same indicated that some employees would be getting greater than 3% due to a study. And so
okay. The collective bargaining agreement covers the town of Plymouth police and fire personnel. And during the budget process, the Plymouth Fire Chief presented a wage analysis for his employees of his department. After a review of the analysis, it was decided that the town would conduct a full wage and classification study for all positions in town. And that study will be utilized in the future to assist departments and the Select Board to ensure that all employees are within the adequate pay range. At this time, though, the budget presented includes a 1.5% increase for all employees who are not unionized, a 3% increase for all police officers and dispatch personnel, and an increase of 7 to 9% for fire department personnel.
And that was to bring wages comparable so we weren't losing people, I take it.
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay. Article 8. And Article 8 says, shall the town, if Article 7 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call a special meeting at this option to address article costs only. And this is a backup article, and it is recommended by the selectmen. And comment?
Sure. This warrant article allows the town to hold one special meeting to address items within warrant article number 7, collective bargaining agreement, if that article does not pass.
Questions?
There is one question, one written question.
Henry, if you unmute, you're on.
I've just got a question, going back to Article 2. If Article 2 fails,
Everything else fails.
that's correct. So what happens to the bargaining agreement in the meantime? The
Good.
backup and having another meeting and things like that, all will fail, right?
Then that will fail and they will be able to call a meeting for that one article.
So
That's
it will, even though this article would also fail, so that wouldn't allow them to call the meeting. That's my question.
good
Well,
question.
Won't there have to be a meeting to address the statutory increases that have to go forward in a town's budget? So there at least be that.
See, at the beginning, as I understand it, is that there are statutory requirements that would have to adjust the budget if it's all turned down and you use last year's budget. Is that what you're saying, Bill? So that would be a statutory adjustment that would have to be made?
Yes.
All right.
And if Henry's satisfied with that, this is also a written question from Patrice, Article 8.
What is the cost of holding a special town meeting in the event that Article 7 doesn't pass?
And the cost of a special town meeting depends on the work necessary. If the town was to hold a special town meeting similar to this current year's town meeting, the cost will be upwards of $3,000 to $4,000.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to Article 9, Plymouth and Police and Dispatch. Blah, blah, blah. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $2,271,313 for fiscal year 2021-2022 public safety, police, and dispatch as follows. Plymouth Police, $1,752,825. Dispatch, $518,488. And further, to offset the appropriation by the authorizing the withdrawal of $30,000 from the Police Special Detail Fund. And Board?
Board of Selectmen recommends the passage of this article, and this budget includes a 1.5% cost of living adjustment for non-unionized personnel, with the exception of contract employees who will receive the same increase of 3% as the union employees. At the request of the Advisory Budget Committee this year, the Select Board approved moving the parking administrative staff salaries and benefits to the Police Department budget line. This employee's majority of the time is spent as administrative support to the Police Department, not the Parking Department. The appropriations listed include 5 full-time patrol officers, 3 regular full-time dispatchers, 1 part-time dispatcher, 1 detective, 1 detective sergeant, 3 shift sergeants, 1 school crossing attendant, 1 dispatch coordinator, 1 dispatch supervisor, 1 administrative assistant, 1 deputy chief, and 1 chief.
And there is one question on this. Please clarify or confirm Bill's statement that non-union employees are getting a 1.5% raise versus the 3% union increases. Does that apply to all departments?
As stated in our prior responses from Article 7, all employees, with the exception of the 2 contractual employees who are non-unionized employees, will receive an increase of 1.5%.
Is there any other question or discussion on Article
Moderator?
9? Yes. Yes, go
Just-
ahead, Steve.
Point of order. They added one sergeant to that bunch of people. There are 2 road sergeants, 2 patrol sergeants, and 1 detective sergeant, not 3 patrol sergeants.
Okay.
So they just added an employee, just for clarification.
So how many sergeants do you have?
I have 3 total, which would be
Yeah.
2 patrol sergeants and 1 detective sergeant.
Okay, so it should be 2 shift sergeants
Correct.
instead of 3. Okay.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, Article 10, police parking, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $92,616 for the purpose of funding fiscal year 21-22 parking department, and to offset this appropriation by further authorizing the withdrawal of $30,000 from the parking special revenue fund. The board recommends this, and board, any your comments, please?
Sure. This budget includes 1.5% cost of living adjustment for the parking enforcement officer. The budget has been reduced overall by removing the administrative employee who has been moved to the regular police budget. The amount available in this special revenue fund as of 6/30/2020 is $116,000.
Comments, questions? Okay, we'll move on to Article 11. And Article 11 says to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $120,226 for the purpose of funding the fiscal year 21-22 resource officer and to offset by $93,845 from the SAU 48 school system. And the board recommends this article, and your comments, please.
Ooh, this budget, where are we? I'm sorry.
Top of the next page.
Okay. This budget includes one police resource officer in a unionized position. The SAU number 48 school system reimburses the town of Plymouth 75% of this budgeted amount each year.
And we do have a question on that. Does the appointment of the Plymouth resource officer exclude charges the Plymouth Elementary School and Pemmy Baker Regional School District High School, or are Plymouth taxpayers paying thrice for this officer? Stranger things have happened in the past.
The resource officer is an employee of the town of Plymouth Police Department. Therefore, the amount of actual expense must be gross appropriated by the town. Following this gross appropriation, the town receives a revenue of 75% of the cost of this position from the Plymouth Elementary and Plymouth Regional High School. Therefore, the actual cost of the town is 25%. The total cost is allocated just once as an expense to the taxpayers.
So as I read her question, she's asking if you're paying the school district budget and the regional school district budget, you're paying a portion of this on another portion of your taxes. Do I understand you correctly, Patrice?
Yes, Bob, that's exactly what I was wondering. Are we getting hit, the taxpayer hit 3 times, or is the 25% inclusive of the Plymouth taxpayers' burden?
Steve, do you want to say yay or nay?
Well, my understanding is, the 25%, well, it all comes out of the school budget. As all part of that, you still comes out of your taxes. So yes, ultimately you're paying for the whole thing out of your taxes, but the 25% comes out of this town budget. The 75% comes out of a combination between the 2 school budgets, the elementary school and the high school, if that makes sense. And that answers your question, Patrice.
The other piece of that is that depending on how much the time is at the high school versus the elementary school, the regional high school would be paying a higher portion of the 25%, and that would be distributed among all the other towns. But yes, the money's got to come from somewhere.
Correct.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Which brings us to Article 12, Fire and Ambulance, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $1,664,322 for fiscal year 21-22 public safety, fire and ambulance as follows. Fire Department, $1,532,752, ambulance, $131,570. And the board recommended this article. Mr. Bolton.
This budget includes a 1.5% cost of living adjustment for non-union employees, including the fire chief, deputy fire chief, administrative support staff, and associated benefit expenses. The remainder of the staff, which includes 4 firefighters, AEMTS, 2 captain, AEMT, and 2 captain medics are all unionized positions. This year, the department has increased many training lines within the 2 budgets to continue the necessary training of the staff and to keep these employees updated on the national standards. Further, the department was notified while working on their budget proposal that the furnace is failing and needs to be replaced at the fire station. That expense has been added to the budget this year.
Questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to Article 13, Highway Department and Street Lighting, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $1,200,773 for fiscal year 21-22 for the Highway Department as follows. Highway Department, $1,138,773, Street Lighting, $62,000. And further, to offset this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of $25,000 to offset 4321 TAC 931 TAC 00 road construction. I would say that's a project. And the Motor Vehicle Capital Reserve Fund established for this purpose. And the board recommended this, Mr. Bolton.
The Highway Department budget includes a cost of living adjustment for 1.5% for 7 full-time and 2 part-time employees. The board has approved an additional $10,000 request for this department for road construction. The highway manager and Plymouth Planning and Community Development Director are working on researching and applying for grants to assist in offsetting some of these expenses associated with this department. The grants being worked on include a TAP grant that would assist the improvement of a project for sidewalks near the entrance to the school system.
Okay. Questions, comments? Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $125,000 for the purpose of funding the following capital outlay project for fiscal year 2021-2022. Bartlett Road Improvements Phase 1, $125,000. The Board of Selectmen recommends passage of this article. Mr. Bolton.
Sure, this warrant article was put on the warrant by the Board of Selectmen, who expressed this roadway to be a priority due to the excessive wear and travel usage. This expense represents a total reconstruction of approximately 900 feet of roadway beginning at Reservoir Road. Further, the emergency service of Plymouth Fire, Ambulance, and Police Department have expressed the need to adequately maintain this roadway to allow for swift responses to the residents and businesses in this area.
Questions or comments? Article 15, Capital Land and Improvements, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $263,400 for the purpose of funding the following capital outlay projects fiscal year 21-22. Landfill monitoring, $8,400. Improved road construction, $202,000. Crushed gravel, $10,000. Conservation Commission, $5,000. Airport improvements, $3,000. Perpetual care fund reimbursements, $35,000. The Select Board recommends passage of this article. Mr. Bolton.
The purpose of these items are landfill monitoring, $8,400 to continue the town's obligation of monitoring the landfill. Improvement to road construction, the $202,000 will go to New Hebron Road reconstruction of 750 feet and Boulder Point complete overlay. The crushed gravel, as stock allows the highway department, will crush product. Conservation Commission project, $5,000 allows for any expense that is associated with the maintenance of the Conservation Commission areas to be paid. Airport improvements, the $3,000, those funds will be utilized to offset a grant being applied for the upgrades of the airport property. And the $35,000 for the perpetual care fund reimbursement. Over the last few years, the town has taken out funds to offset the budget of the cemetery from the cemetery perpetual care fund. The amount allowed was to only be interest on the accounts, not the principal. Principal was dispersed to the town. This allows for the amount of principal that was dispersed to be put back into the perpetual care fund.
Questions or comments on Article 15? Article 16, capital machinery and vehicles and equipment, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $201,751 for the purpose of funding the following capital items for the fiscal year 21-22. Fire, F-250 4x4, $43,902. Fire portable radios, $25,000. Ambulance equipment defibrillators, $18,975. Highway sidewalk tractor final payment, $37,192. Ambulance tools, $12,000. Ambulance power lift, $29,682. Highway equipment repairs, $20,000, and airport tractor, $15,000. The select board recommends passage of this article. Mr. Bolton.
For fire, the F-250 4x4 will be replacing the 2008 Ford F-250. The portable radios for fire. The town of Holderness and Plymouth have collaboratively entered into a grant for replacement of radios. These funds may be utilized as an offset to the grant, or if the grant is not approved, it will allow the department to replace a few of the older radios this year. Ambulance, the defibrillators. In 2020-21, the fire department purchased a new defibrillator for the department. This appropriation is for the balance due on that purchase. For highway, the sidewalk tractor, it's a final payment, and it's a final payment due on this piece of equipment. For the ambulance, tools and power lifts. These are necessary items for the department. The power lift is a motorized stretcher that actually lifts patients into and out of the ambulance and will prevent injuries to personnel who in the past had to lift the patients. Think about.
Two more, highway department equipment repairs.
So the highway equipment repairs. This line is utilized for repairs to our town equipment and will be utilized in the offsetting of grants associated with the highway department. And the airport tractor, this appropriation is for the purchase of attachments to the current airport tractor and a purchase of a zero-turn mower.
Questions or comments on Article 16? Article 17, to see if the municipality will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $40,000 to fund the following capital item. Recycling plow utility truck, $40,000. And to authorize the withdrawal of $20,000 from the recycling equipment and capital reserve fund established for this purpose. This was recommended passage by the select board. Mr. Bolton.
And this piece of equipment will be replacing the 2008 plow truck.
Questions, comments? Okay. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to add to the existing capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1 for the following purposes and raise and appropriate the respective sums totaling $198,000 to be placed in said funds. The select board, the Board of Selectmen are agents to expend from these funds. Capital Commission, $5,000. Highway Street, South Main Street, Highland Street, South Main Street, Capital Reserve Fund, $100,000. Heavy Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, $88,000. Library Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund, $5,000. And the Select Board recommends passage of this article. Mr. Bolton.
Sure. The amount of funds being requested to put into capital reserves this year has been reduced by members of the Selectmen as they feel that the two bonds were approved by voters over the past few years to help departments acquire some of their infrastructure needs. This is only the beginning of playing catch up after 14 years of not allowing departments to spend or save money to go towards these purchases. Without the bond, taxes would have gone up at least $3 per thousand evaluation. With the bond, the town's effect on the tax rate was projected to be 69 cents. Once all adjustments were made, the effect on the tax rate was actually 30 cents. The town CIP committee will be evaluating the needs of the department later this year to update the needs of the departments.
Okay, and any other business to legally come before this meeting? This is where we will now read the amendment to Article.
Sorry, Bob, we have two hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead. Henry, you're on.
Yes, I didn't get quick enough. Back on Article 15, the cemetery one. I'm curious as to how much interest we're actually earning on the perpetual care fund and how close that is to covering the actual expenses we have at the cemetery.
Can't answer that. The trustees actually keep track of those accounts, so unless we have a trustee here to answer that question for you, I don't think that we can answer it.
That's a trustee of trust question, and the $35,000, as I read the article, was because they withdrew more money than just the interest, and now they're replacing the interest into that account. Is that the way I understood it? Is that correct?
Replacing the principal.
Principal.
Right.
They were only supposed to take out interest, but evidently more money was dispersed and some was principal, and they're replacing the principal.
Correct.
Right, which is my question is, if we're not earning enough interest in that account to cover the cost of doing the cemetery thing that we had to take out 35,000 over the last 3 years, where are we going to make up that money? Because it's still going to cost us the same every year to take care of the cemeteries.
The reason I'm asking the board, the reason that $35,000 extra was taken out was what? Was that a mistake, or they're taking more than what the interest is over a period of time? Why did that happen?
It would just be conjecture. I think the 35,000 sounds like it was probably an expense of that the cemetery trustees were allowed to pursue, or the cemetery trustees probably allowed the cemetery sexton to approve a payment on something that, we purchased. But that's conjecture. Jesse's not here, right?
So the other piece of that is that there's money in one of the articles for the cemetery. I don't remember which one, which was.
But this year, Bob, there is no offset from the cemetery perpetual care fund.
I understand that, but there was an article that raised money for cemetery, wasn't there?
Article 6, it's part of Article 6.
Article 6, yes. So I'm trying to see where it is on here.
60,000. It's
Yep.
60,967.
Yep. So that's what I would say is the expense of running the cemeteries. And that's where you're raising the money. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it clears it up for me a little bit.
Well, I was just trying to figure out how much money is actually coming in from the perpetual care fund.
That would probably be in your town report under the report from the trustees of trust fund. Is that where you would find it, select board?
Yeah. Yes.
That's where it's at.
Yes. I don't have it in front of me. I can't tell you what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Patrice, you're on.
Thanks, Bob. I would just like to say, since we had a brief discussion of what happens if Article 2 fails, I would note that the selectmen are willing to convene a special town meeting if Article 7 fails by virtue of Article 8. So I would simply ask the selectmen to reconsider their options under the House Bill 1129 in the event that Article 2 fails, and simply hold a town meeting later in the spring. If you're willing to hold a special town meeting for one article, I would think we could offer the regular town meeting later in the spring. People will be able to attend. We can open the doors and it'll be a breath of fresh air. So thank you. I appreciate your holding an actual open forum during this second session. And I know it's not a perfect forum, and I would certainly hope that we won't have to cancel this open debate session again. Thank you, Selectman.
I'm looking forward to a regular meeting in March next year where I can look everybody in the eye and talk to them, because I don't like this any more than you do, Patrice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oops, sorry. We did find the expenditures, or at least for the cemetery. And the beginning fund balance is 470. No, forget that. The receipts, perpetual care. Perpetual care is $120,577. Interest and dividends is $12,004. Gains, losses on sale of investments, $4,927, for a total of $137,508.
What's left in perpetual care is 400.
The only thing that we can spend. though, is the
Disbursements,
interest.
perpetual care is 181,203. So to offset, that would be $435,000, or $436,000 the ending fund balance.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. We will be having an election for the officers for the town of Plymouth, for the Water and Sewer District, for the Plymouth School Board and the Pemmy Baker Regional School Board on Tuesday, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, ending at 7 o'clock at night, with a bare bones crew, because we don't expect a lot of turnout, and we will be using social distancing to keep people spaced, as well as using all the protective equipment we can. I'm not thrilled about being there myself, but that's part of my job, and that's what we will do. And then this warrant will be voted on April 17th starting at 9 o'clock in the morning through 12 noon at the Plymouth Regional High School. And if there are no other questions or anybody else has anything else to say.
Didn't you start reading an amendment that then?
Oh, yes. The amendment needs to be read, and I don't have the amendment to Article 5
Four.
for Article 4.
No, it's
Yes, no.
The first one.
Article 5, correct?
Article 4, which is Martin Estates Road.
what's the,
Two amendments, two articles being amended.
So if you look at the second paragraph underneath Article 4.
Article 4, to see if the town will vote to confirm the authority of the selectmen to accept Martin Estate Road as a town public road from the intersection of Bridgewater Hill Road to the cul-de-sac at the end of Martin's Estate Road, provided the selectmen conclude that the property owner has complied with the town's policy for the acceptance of the town roads. That is the amended article, which gives the selectmen more teeth in accepting this. And then Article 5, the amendment is at the 2008 town meeting, approval has been given to establish the Conservation Commission under the provisions of RSA 36 TAC A, capital A. Due to this authority, the second virtual meeting of March 6, 2021, it is recommended the board will amend the wording of this article, and it will now read, to see if the town will vote to adopt the provisions of RSA capital A : 4 small a 2A, to authorize the Conservation Commission to expend funds to purchase interests in land outside the boundaries of our municipality, and further to authorize the Plymouth Conservation Commission to spend up to $25,000 of their capital reserve fund to be used for land acquisition, and establishing.
the conservation easement?
Yep, I got to get the right page now. I got out of sequence here. And establishing the Conservation Commission. Where did we go? Go ahead. You have the rest of it there, Bill?
Yeah, to be
I
used.
wrote a note on it.
Yeah, so the capital reserve fund to be used for land
Right.
acquisition and establishing a conservation easement on these lands in collaboration with the Holderness Conservation Commission and other qualified organizations. And further, to offset this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of $25,000 from the Conservation Commission Capital Projects Capital Reserve Fund established for this purpose.
Got it.
And so I guess we need a motion on both those, or one at a time.
Okay.
on those amendments.
Right. So for the first one on Article 4, I would entertain a motion to the reworded as proposed by the selectmen. Henry?
I move.
Second.
So
Okay.
moved.
Been moved, seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hand.
Probably can't see me.
I can see you. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh, Neil's not on.
5.
Is Neil on?
Neil is on 6, 7, 8. I have 8. I can't tell whether any of the other town employees are residents or not. I can't see hands up, but I have 8, 9, 10. I have 10 in favor. Opposed. I have no opposition. Your hands,
They're stuck on. Oh, Patrice and Colin.
Hold on, let me put Patrice's hand down and then I'll,
okay, they're down now. Any no's? Patrice is no?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Is that a no, Patrice?
No, I'm not a no, I'm a yes.
Okay, all right, you're all set.
Sorry.
Yeah, I counted you as a yes, but then your hand was up
Yes.
again. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and the second amendment is to the recreation area. I would entertain a motion to approve the amended article.
So move.
It's been moved,
Second, I second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I get 12. Okay. Remove your hands and opposed. All those opposed, please raise your hand. And it's 0. So both articles, amendments will pass and will be rewritten and will be available on March 26th at the Selectman's office, and will be corrected on the actual ballot. Any other questions, concerns? Anything else for the good of the order? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much for your participation.